Welcome to the Noon Report. Your midday news and weather headlines start right now.
A massive 8.1 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of southern Mexico overnight, killing at least 32 people. The quake toppled houses, caused buildings to sway violently, and even triggered a tsunami with waves of more than 3 feet in some areas. Mexico's president says that earthquake is the biggest Mexico has seen in a century. And just north of where that deadly quake hit, residents on the Gulf Coast of Mexico are preparing for Hurricane Katia, which is expected to make landfall sometime today. Katia is a Category 2 hurricane and has been gaining strength since overnight. She's expected to bring predicted rainfall of 10 to 15 inches over northern Veracruz, eastern Hidalgo, and Puebla.
I can guarantee you that I don't know anybody in Florida that's ever experienced what's about to hit South Florida.
So they need to get out.
They need to get out and listen and heed the warnings.
Hurricane Irma continues its deadly path to Miami after tearing through the Caribbean overnight. Florida is bracing for Irma, a strong Category 4 storm teetering close to Category 5 strength. NBC's Sarah Rosario is in Miami, where early signs of the storm are starting to appear.
It's a desperate race against time for residents in South Florida. Irma's impending yet uncertain strike in the United States has everyone on edge.
And take a look at this. A long line of people snakes outside an evacuation center in Miami. It appears the crowd is waiting for the center to open this morning as people heed warnings to seek shelter from the hurricane. Storm surge could reach 7 to 10 feet in parts of the area. Even the National Guard is heading south. More than 100 soldiers based at Camp May in New Jersey are making their way to Florida. The soldiers will provide emergency response support for people expected to be impacted by the storm. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie says the men and women are all well experienced and have served on the front lines during Hurricanes Irene and Sandy. Okay, let's go to the Caribbean now, where video taken on Barbuda really shows the destruction and devastation caused by Hurricane Irma. The massive storm left thousands of people homeless and killed at least 11, including 3 deaths reported on Barbuda. Early today, the hurricane battered the Turks and Caicos Islands as well. And you know, brand new today, folks, there are now 2 Category 4 storms in the Atlantic Ocean. About 10 o'clock this morning, Jose was actually upgraded to a more powerful storm. Kurt, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so sort of this is like an apocalyptic scene out there right now. So we've got 2 major hurricanes in the Caribbean. Jose now up to 150 miles per hour, making it a Category 4 hurricane. And these are looking to hit some of the same places that Hurricane Irma, as a Category 5 hurricane, made landfall just in the beginning. So portions of the Leeward Islands as well as Barbuda looking to be hit again by a Category 4 hurricane. So this is going to be really detrimental to them. But for us, all our attention is focused on Irma right now, which is going to be making landfall at least in some place in southern Florida by late Saturday and into early Sunday morning. So as of now, some of the outer bands of this storm already making their way towards Miami. They should be expecting winds to be picking up, and it should expect some rain to be on the way. So winds 150 miles per hour. Now we are waiting for this storm to take that hook northwards. Latest track has delayed that northward track, so that means we're going to be seeing this storm work its way a little bit further to the west. But notice just north of Cuba right now, it still will be a Category 4 hurricane, but then making landfall potentially on the southwestern side of Florida, and that's where we should be seeing it making a landfall as about a Category 4 hurricane. But then it will continue to push its way up through central Florida and then eventually into Georgia as potentially a Category 1 hurricane. So storm surge, heavy rain. We could be talking anywhere from maybe mark 15 to 20 inches of rain in Florida, but then it looks to work its way up into Tennessee, maybe even portions of Alabama as a tropical depression.
All right, good to know. Kurt, thank you. Well, the House has approved a package of bills that includes billions of dollars for hurricane recovery efforts. It also raises the debt limit and funds the government through December. The bill, which passed 316 to 90, was part of a deal struck between President Donald Trump and Democratic leaders. The 90 lawmakers who opposed the bill were all Republicans. The bill now goes to the White House for the president's signature. Let's go to Oregon now, where the Eagle Creek fire in the Portland metro area is still raging. After just a few days, the fire has already spread to more than 30,000 acres, but firefighters say the weather is helping. Less wind, higher humidity, and rain is great news for crews trying to fight that massive blaze. Still, though, hundreds of residents are being forced out of their homes. Officials say a 15-year-old boy is a primary suspect in that fire, but the specifics are still being investigated. Minot police are investigating a report of a man with a holstered firearm near a school in Minot earlier this week. They say that incident happened on Tuesday, but would not release any more specifics until the investigation was complete. Okay, folks, coming up on the Noon Report, an estimated 143 million U.S. consumers could be affected by a cybersecurity attack against a major credit reporting agency. Stay with us for details.
Welcome to the Noon Report. Your midday news and weather headlines start right now.
In just a few hours, Air Force One will touch down in Bismarck. President Trump will travel from the Bismarck Airport to Endeavor Refinery in Mandan to speak about tax reform. Senators Heidi Heitkamp and John Hoeven, along with Representative Kevin Cramer, will make the trip to North Dakota on Air Force One with the president. Keep in mind, too, Heitkamp will be the first Democrat to join President Trump on Air Force One. About 500 guests invited by the White House will also be on hand. President Trump already took to Twitter this morning mentioning North Dakota. He said, quote, "We'll be going to North Dakota today to discuss tax reform and tax cuts. We are the highest tax nation in the world. That will change." And speaking of that, North Dakota lawmakers tell our Washington Bureau's Peter Zampa the president's tax vision is just what North Dakotans need. Others say it's harmful. Take a look.
Donald Trump fortunately has both the skill and the desire to get out and speak truth.
In Washington, Peter Zampa, NBC North Dakota News.
And if you're wondering what President Trump is doing before he gets on Air Force One and heads here, well, the press schedule that was sent to our newsroom earlier today says Mr. Trump spoke with President of China this morning. He then got his daily intelligence briefing. And the video we're seeing right here is from his meeting after that with House and Senate leaders from both parties. And just minutes ago, Mr. Trump did leave Joint Base Andrews for Bismarck. You should also know that the travel route from the airport to the refinery has not been confirmed by the White House, but be aware of the possibility that there could be traffic congestion around Bismarck and Mandan. Schools in Mandan may delay let-out times and buses may run off schedule as well. And of course, count on us for coverage of President Trump's visit. We'll be live on air and social media as soon as Air Force One touches down and throughout the president's speech as well. We'll have a full wrap-up of the visit tonight on First News at 5. Okay, folks, why don't we break for weather? Meteorologist Kurt Olson joins us now for an early look at that. Kurt, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mark. After a chilly start this morning, temperatures already starting to warm back up into the 60s and 70s. But check out some of these lows from this morning. Reaching 32 degrees this morning, so hitting that freezing mark. So some patchy frost, especially through southwestern North Dakota. Even Bismarck finishing up at around 38 degrees. Minot, a little bit warmer. You did have some cloud cover around this morning. You finished at 50 degrees. So the reason behind this cool down is because of that trough of the Great Lakes. We are on the outer fringes of that, but look what's to our west. It's that upper level ridge that's going to build in, and that's actually going to help us to warm up over the next couple of days. But it's also that trough over the Great Lakes that will be trying to deflect Hurricane Irma back into the sea. As we take a look at Sky Tracker radar in Puerto Rico right now over Hurricane Irma, you can see some of those bands just starting to wrap into San Juan, now over the British Virgin Islands, as well as portions of St. Thomas right now, dealing with some heavy rainfall. This is a picturesque storm. You can see the eye of this hurricane around 21 miles wide. So this is a massive storm, Category 5 right now, Mark, and it's going to continue to work its way through the Caribbean. We'll be continuing to track it through the coming days.
Absolutely, Kurt. Thank you. Okay, let's look a little bit deeper into that now. Hurricane Irma is picking up steam as it barrels through the Caribbean, like Kurt mentioned. But today, millions along the East Coast on the U.S. are bracing for a potentially catastrophic Category 5 storm. Gabe Gutierrez is in the Florida Keys with this update.
Overnight, Hurricane Irma. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News. Isla Mirada, Florida.
Coming up on the Noon Report, the city of Minot just got a hefty six-figure rent check. Stay with us for details. Coming up on the Noon Report, the Boy Scouts of America announces it will allow transgender children to enroll in its boys-only programs. Plus, it's a busy day in Washington as senators consider several of President Trump's cabinet nominees. But first, on the last day to sign up for health insurance through the Affordable Care Act, some concerns loom over who could be left without coverage.
Welcome to the Noon Report. Your midday news and weather headlines start right now.
We begin today with a historic announcement from the Boy Scouts breaking from a century-old policy.